The object of this session is that you will be able to determine the correct amount of units to order, spot the best installation positions, and place the eagle eye units for the best coverage. It is extremely important that you understand the basic principles. Installations must always be seen as a complete system. One unit will not always be able to do the job on its own. The eagle eye unit may also not be the only solution to the problem on hand. The longer the system is in place, the more effective it becomes. This distinguishes the eagle eye from other audio or visual deterrent devices. Birds cannot grow accustomed to the moving flashes of the eagle eye. In contrast to their ears, the eyes are the most sensitive part of their body. Never be in a hurry to make your decision. Carefully look at all the options. There may be more than one good spot. Pick the best one. Usually, the birds are not all over the building. They are concentrated on sheltered areas, away from the prevailing winds and out of the rain. Always start at the highest point, even if the target area is not the highest. This is important because birds will land on the highest point before they drop down to the intended target. The eagle eye only works in line of sight. Any obstacle that can block the moving flashes will cause a blind spot where the eagle eye cannot deter birds. Remember that the eagle eye does not work upward but downwards. Birds are only affected by the flashes coming from above. They can happily fly over the eagle eye without being affected by flashes from below. It is only when they come into land and see flashes coming from a higher point that they are affected. For the best results, use the spots where the eagle eye can catch maximum sunlight. Units placed in the shade will not work. The eagle eye uses a 12-volt internal electric motor for rotation. When mains power is available, use a 12-volt regulated mains adapter. Solar panels or batteries can also be used. A solar panel and battery combination may be used to power a halogen light for a couple of hours per day. One unit can protect 10 to 15 meters downward and up to 50 meters sideways. That means that you can place units 100 meters apart if there are no obstacles between them. This varies from site to site, especially in the agricultural field. Keep in mind through which hemisphere the sun moves in your part of the world. Install the bulk of the units on the northern side in the northern hemisphere and on the southern side in the southern hemisphere. Try to position the units to get afternoon sun rather than morning sun. It is mainly the birds that come in to sleep on the buildings that cause the biggest problems. To recap, always start from the highest point. The more units installed, the more effective the system becomes. Place the bulk of the units on the northern side in the northern hemisphere and on the southern side in the southern hemisphere. Concentrate on units that will get afternoon sun. There is always a blind spot on the shadow side where the eagle eye does not flash. Place the units in such a way that they'll cover each other's critical blind spots. Notice as the reflections follow the sun that the blind spot moves with the shadows. For this reason, multiple units must be placed to cover the critical blind spots. If the building has additional obstacles, then it becomes necessary to place additional units to properly cover the area. Typical industrial buildings. Here you can see a staggered formation on a sawtooth building. At doors and other openings where birds are flying in, Place the units as high as possible, but make sure that the flashes are flashing to the outside of the building as well as to the inside. If possible, try to install the units on a pole or a wall opposite to the door or opening. Units placed inside buildings or in shaded areas using lights are not as effective as units placed in direct sunlight. More units will be needed when using artificial light. Although halogen light can be used as a light source, it can't be as powerful as the sun. Always place a unit on the outside of the building to prevent birds entering. Ensure that the Eagle Eye bird scarer is installed vertically upright. It is ineffective if it's skew or angled. Ensure that all methodologies already operating, such as gas cannons, ultrasonic sound systems, regular shooting, etc., are only phased out once it becomes evident that the majority of the birds have relocated. This could take 2 to 3 weeks. The Eagle Eye units should then keep them at bay. Birds are creatures of habit. After finding a place to stay, they'll usually come back to the same spot. When discomforted on a continuous basis, most birds will relocate to another site. It's very important to understand that nesting birds will always return to their nests while eggs or young are present. It is unrealistic to expect that the Eagle Eye system will always get rid of 100% of the problem birds. If placed correctly, up to 80% of the birds will leave the area, and most importantly, new birds will be deterred. We believe that the Eagle Eye is the most effective open-air bird deterrent system available.